I'm Susan and welcome to my channel. Today I have something special for you. I am one of the worst salespeople, gadget people there are. I can't stand gadgets. I can't stand extra stuff in my studio. I'm really picky. I have all these companies constantly contacting me, wanting to mail me stuff. Oh, do a video with this, do a video of that. And you guys notice, I don't do a whole lot of that because that's not me. I just don't care. I'll be honest with you, I don't want their stuff in my studio. I'm a real picky pain in the neck. So when I find something I like, I really like it. It has to have multiple uses. So today I want to show you the Pandorganizer. And the Pandorganizer, Teresa will tell you, I really didn't have an interest in this product. I'm going to be quite honest. I thought, I don't need this. I have all of my square pairs all in a box. You know, I don't really need a place to put all these. They fit inside themselves. Well, then I lost the darn box. She was joking with me one day when I was going to order another set because I didn't know what I did with them. And then I always am losing these, which are the Beads and Blends templates that are very simple, but you put them on your table, you put a few things around, and now I can't find them because they're clear. The clear is fabulous to work with, but the clear is also bad for people like me that are very unorganized when they work. I lose a lot of things on my table. It's not very big, but I pile stuff up because I do multiple videos. And I love the cane benders. I bought these the day I saw them. Cindy Leitz did a video with these and the cane benders, and I immediately, I think 10 minutes later, went and ordered all of these. So these are her first ones that Teresa put out, and they are my favorite. I absolutely can't live without them. But now I realize I can't live without the Pandorganizer because I'm still missing something here, and it's the templates for the bracelets. And I have them on my table someplace, and I know I'll find them when I'm done with this video because that's the way my life goes. But they go in these little slots over here, and they work perfect for making wider or skinnier bracelets. Teresa already has this figured out. They're lucite, so you can see right through them when you put a cane on them, or you do a silk screen with them. And for me, she's right, I need the Pandorganizer. Absolutely, I needed this. I immediately saw the boss that she advertised on her Facebook page, and 5 minutes later I had to have this guy, because this is the persuader of persuaders for polymer clay. If you're struggling with your clay, this is it's almost 1.5 inches wide. It's a gigantic roller, and many of you would say it's complete overkill. Well, I don't know if it's my age or I've just had too much hard clay that just I don't want to deal with the pasta machine and having it crumble, and this guy is like my best friend. I was really glad when I bought this. First, I thought I wasted a lot of money on this and said, you know, I could have probably used my smaller roller. But once I started playing with this, I realized, no, this was a really good investment. And so it was well worth it. Now, you're probably wondering, what am I going to do with all this stuff? I'm going to show you next. I like to keep in my Pandorganizer, I have a little vase. I picked this up at a thrift store. It's just a little silver vase, and I keep a glob of clay in it, and all of my different needle tools that I've created. I have different thicknesses because I like to use them for creating designs. I also keep my extra skewers in here because they're just easier to find. My little toothpicks in a little toothpick jar. I've picked that up at a thrift store too. I just like old things, so you'll always find that I've mixed them in. And this holds my deep shine so I can find it, because that's another problem I have. And then she has her Easy Pierce needles, and I love that they came in this jar because otherwise I'd be putting them in here and they're kind of shorter, so I like them better in the jar. They're just easier to grab. And I keep my water for release and my cuff because it's so much easier. Sometimes when you're working, you don't want to be looking for things. So it's nice to have this extra little tray to put all those extra little doodles and things that you have when you're working. So let me show you what I have done without even thinking. I just want to create a cane with you that we're just playing. I'm just going to grab some clay, and then I want to do a bracelet. I want to just show you why you need these or why you may think you need these. Because if you don't have them, you don't have them. You can still do clay. But if you do have them, this is the benefits of them. So let's get started. Now the biggest question is, why would you need cane benders? These are smaller versions. This is a regular roller. Tiny Pandora also has what she calls the Boss, which is this giant roller. I love this roller because you don't have to put a lot of pressure in and it just does things for you. But my favorite roller is actually these cane benders. This middle roller is my most favorite roller when I'm just rolling out like one pair of earrings and I just want something in a stamp. This roller is my key. I have tried to find other rollers, you know, in the fondant materials, and nothing else seems to be this size. She has really understood the market for polymer clay and understood what you really need for polymer clay. And the cane benders are fabulous because you can use these in multiple ways. Now, what I thought I'd do with these is show you what I use them for. Now, if you're doing intricate canes, these are a necessity. Even the square cane benders, and then she has the square pairs. These are really more for reducing, but you can also use these in pressing into canes to create angles and different things. I've tried using knitting needles and they bend. I can't find things that don't bend. These don't bend. Anything else I try to use doesn't work. I've tried going through my husband's toolbox. I've tried using, you know, wood dowels. These are really worth the investment. These different products all serve a wonderful purpose. Now, Teresa has lots of things on her videos, so I want to show you my own stuff. What we're going to do is start out with just a pink piece of clay. And you know, I'm not really good at following rules, directions, or patterns. Those are just not my strong suits. So we're just going to tear this because I can. And I just want to have fun with this. I just want to make this color go across in a nice little gradient. And I never really measure. I only did that in my first videos for you guys. For me, this is literally how I work. I just freeform it, and whatever happens, happens. To me, I prefer a surprise. A lot of people are more precise. They like to measure their clay. There's nothing wrong with that. That's just not me. So now I'm going to run this through the pasta machine about 10 times, and this will all blend together, and I'll be right back. And now you can see what a beautiful blend we get with that. Run this through the pasta machine on a thinner setting so that I get a long skinny piece. I just think it'll make a nicer blend. Now I've got a longer skinnier piece, and some of this cracked through here, so you'll see these little dark spots. That's not other clay, that's just where it cracked. Don't worry about it. If you're a perfectionist, you probably don't watch me anyway. I probably drive you crazy. I just like to play with the clay and let what's going to happen happen. Sometimes if you overthink it, you don't enjoy the process. Now right here, I'm just going to press this onto the table so that it fills itself into a plug. And I'm just pulling that plug and getting some of those air bubbles out. Just pressing on it, just so that it's more even. Now you all know I've done videos where you can make flowers out of these and do all sorts of things without the cane benders. But if you want things to come out nicer or a little bit more in depth, the cane benders help with that. And I just wanted to show you what you could do with the cane benders. I mean, without the cane benders, and if you're just starting out with clay, but if you're watching me for a while, you're more advanced, you're ready for something more like this. Now I'm just going to cut this in half and stack it on this clay. I just want to add this other color in, and we'll add a little bit of this pretty aqua in because we can. Now I've got that piece on there, and this is where having something to press this into the clay really changes it. So now I can just rock this right into there and get a perfect little divvy. I wouldn't be able to get that if I had just a regular rod or something. And let's put this little fold in. Oh, I made it a little bigger. Let's just throw that in there. That's too close to that color, so we're gonna have to use something else. We'll use this gold. And let's just put the gold in half of it. And what's nice is you can press on it with the smaller cane bender, you can fold this up, and I'm just going to push that over so that that gold folds over that one side. And let's just keep moving this clay around. Let's take the squares and put a little divvy in there. And we can add another color here. Let's add some of this pretty aqua. Let's add a little strip of aqua in there. Now there's a lot of people that do really intense and really think out their canes and, you know, the picture canes and all those other things. And those take a lot of thought and preparation, but sometimes you just want to bang and squish the clay up and see what happens. And remember, it's only clay. What's the worst thing that happens? I use this as a Natasha bead or a filler. That's the absolute worst possible thing. So I'm just taking the smaller square bender and pushing that in. And let's put another piece of this pretty aqua. And I have no idea what this is going to look like, but that's the whole fun. Now you can see, looks like a mess to me, so let's see what it comes out to be. I am just going to keep reducing it. I like this triangle shape because it's easy to work with. So I'm just going to keep that. Now remember, I always condition my clay completely before I film, so if you're wondering why my clay moves for me so much better, it's because I have softened and conditioned it completely so that it's all of the same consistency before I start. Now let's cut it in half. And sometimes you'll just see, like right there, that design just formed perfectly. So we'll keep that design right there. And I want to make sure, see that end is all distorted, so. Now we'll cut it in half one more time. I could have cut it in thirds, but I'm going to leave the halves together. I want this to be a square, so I will just manipulate the clay. I've got them backwards. It should go like that. That's where it's stuck, but I'm not going to worry about that. Now I'm just going to continue reducing it. Now I'm just going to cut it in half again. I always like to see what's inside. Exactly what I thought was inside. And now I'm just going to cut some of this off because it's just distorted anyway. You can see the design is pretty clean there. And we're going to cut it in half one more time. And look at that, it's like a Moroccan tile. And that was just playing with half of this blend, so I can use this other half and make something else. And that was just pushing some cane benders in, and you can see how I've got this beautiful design. Now if I want to keep this from distorting, the square pairs, and push it together with this, and that will keep it way better from distorting than when I just do it. My fingers make it distort more. This will keep it. And it's already starting to stretch. You can see that center is starting to fill in. It was a larger gap from me doing it by hand. I won't have such a distortion in my cane from using these. So I'll continue reducing this. Now I always like to add a little gold leaf to mine, and before this gets too stretched out, I just want that tiny bit of sparkle at the edge. And see where I've got too much here? I'll just fill in that back hole. Now you won't see a whole lot of this, but just the slightest amount of it makes me so happy. Sometimes just a little bit of sparkle is all I need. I don't need a whole lot, and it just gives such an enhancement. Now it'll crackle as it reduces. So you just patiently keep squishing it and it will stretch out. I'll speed this up because it's boring to watch. And now you can see how I get this beautiful Moroccan tile sort of a look just from using half of a blend and adding a few colors in there. So this is why I recommend that you need these cane benders, because trying to do this with your hands, it's possible, but it's not easy. These are just so much more forgiving. Now, what can we do with this cane? I have the Beads and Blends templates. These are also from Tiny Pandora, and they're these beautiful lucite pieces. So with the 3 sizes of her templates, you can do a focal bead or some border beads, whatever you're looking for, depending on whether you just want earrings or something larger. Now what I'm going to do is I have some more of that blue clay. I've rolled this out on a number 6 on my pasta machine, so it's very thin. And I have this fantasy leaf cane that I'm just going to spatter around on this clay. So now that I've got my clay totally covered with some little cane bits, I'm just going to take this tiny cane bender, it's my favorite one, and just roll these into the clay so that they're nice and smooth and embedded. And I like my beads smaller than most people because I'm a seed beater, and many of the people that follow me are seed beaters, so you're going to want to do this on a very thin setting. Right now I'm working on a number 6, and as I'm rolling this out you can see it's getting even thinner, so it would probably be more like a 7 or an 8. Now sometimes these guys, you have to burnish them down by hand. I find they just stick to the roller, and I just want to make sure they're all burnished in really well. I like working on a piece of paper just because it's easier. I've got the Beads and Blends templates, and they come in an 8 by a ½ inch, 8 by 3/4, and an 8 by 1 inch. I'm using the 3/4, the medium size one. If you have Pandora's board that is all marked off, you could use that instead of a piece of tape. I find a piece of tape just works better for me. I already have a glass table, and not everybody has her board, so this is another technique to use her pieces with. So if you want all your beads the same size, just put a piece of masking tape or washi tape. That's all this is washi tape. And I usually use the opposite side. So this end here off. So now I have a clean end, and I want smaller beads. So now I just turn it over and line up that little tape line, and I have a perfect measurement. And it's real easy to just measure that right along there. Now, I have had this problem with my clay breaking several times on me, and I don't really worry about it. Because these beads are rolled up, they seem to be just fine. I'm using the Tiny Pandora bead piercing needle, and this is almost like so if I take the bead piercing needle that she already has, which has got a pointy end and a flat end, and it doesn't matter which end you work with, and then roll the bead up around that in a coil. Now, I'm just taking that one piece that I have. I'm not worrying about the broken piece, and I will add the broken piece in a second. And now I'll just add that broken piece right on, and it fits right in, so it's not even like you could see that. It fits right in, so you can't even tell that there was a broken piece there. And I'm just curling it around. And this is where you really don't need that whole piece of cane. And right here where it cracked, I'm just going to blend it together with a little bit of a knitting needle. Just push it into the other clay. You'll never know it was broken. I've had it happen with several of them now, and I've had no issues once I bake them. Now Teresa likes to bevel her tail. I don't use my clay that thick. I like to twist it and just leave a little hook on that tail and then push it in. I just like the way that looks better with that little hook on it. And you get a nice sized bead with this, and it'll graduate itself up, and you have that beautiful blue on the inside and on the top. I don't like to bake my beads on a piercing tool. I like to pull them off and bake them on a separate tray, just on a t-shirt. So this is perfect just as it is. And now I'll just make a bunch of them and bake them. Now with these beads that I used this larger straw for a larger hole, this rod, I can't really fit for earrings a head pin in here. It's just too large. It'll just keep wobbling and look kind of awkward. So there's a way to fix this. Here I used the piercing needle, so I have a smaller hole, and that's not much of a worry. But even still, if you wanted to make an end cap, it's very simple. I have these little cutters. I have the flower cutters or even a circle cutter. Any of these will do. Each one will give you a different effect. I'm going to use this little flower cutter. I've got my clay on a number 2 on my pasta machine, so I want you to see it's quite thick. I'm just going to take a ball tool and on the opposite side make it go down, because that will be my end cap. I really don't want too much of a design on it. If you want a design on it, you can take a needle tool and create a little design in here if that makes you happy. I'm not really concerned as much with that as I am with just having it so it will fall down the bead and not look like it wasn't meant to be there. And let me add a little hole in the top. Just like that. Now when I pop this off, I would bake this just as it is. Make your own disc bead, which is just, so you make a circle, you smash it down, put a hole in it. And if you want this bead to fit into there perfectly, you can just attach it to the clay like that. And that way you'll have a perfect matching disc bead on each side. Let me make one for the other side just so you can see what I mean. So if you don't have a smaller skewer, you just have those straws, you can still make it work. So there you have something that graduates it perfectly, and now it looks just cleaner on both ends. And when your seed beads come in, you don't have to worry about them falling through the hole here. You know that they'll fit in perfectly, and you can use this in your beadwork. And now I have my beads all finished and my little bead caps, and I'm just going to bake them on a little piece of an old t-shirt on a tile. This way I don't get any shiny marks and they come out all perfect. Now I have this simple little cane that we made just with this half of a blend, and I just want to show you what you can make with something so simple as this that could be quite beautiful. I've let my cane sit for a couple hours now, so it's nice and hard, and I'm just going to tile this together on this clay base. And now I'm just going to burnish this together. Now these are just this is just a straw, a metal straw that came with the Blends In beads kit. This was the straw that you use for the center. I actually like this as a roller. It's a great little roller. I don't like to press too much on these because I don't like to distort the background. I just want to smooth it out and blend it together. And that's why I like putting it on a piece of paper, because I can just keep turning it as I go. Now I have a little fold over here. I want to show you my imperfections because I'm not worried about it. I'm going to make earrings out of this, so I don't need that spot. And I like this design. I have 2 of them. This is just basically taking a piece of paper, folding it, cutting it in half, and you get a perfect little mirror image. You can also buy different cutters. So I'm just going to take these and cut them out. And I'll cut that same design over here. I want to make sure that I get that gold leaf line in the middle. I really like the way that gold leaf looks You might not be able to see it at a distance, but after I cut it, you'll see it. And now you can see what I was talking about, that little edge of gold leaf, because I had the gold leaf on the edge of the cane. I like the way it almost looks like a grout between the tiles. This little edge I see in the camera is kind of going over. So I just like to take my finger and smooth out this edge so it's not so sharp. So now I'm just taking a gift card. This is an old Target gift card that I've used up. I always save gift cards. They are so good for cleaning things up, and this will clean up all of my lines and smooth out all of my edges. And I'll bake these and show you in the end how beautiful these can come out as earrings. Now, one of my favorite things that Tiny Pandora has is the Easy Cuff kit. And the other part of the kit I can't find, it's probably under something on my table here while I'm filming, are the lucite strips she has. Now, normally you would use those if you were laying out some silk screens or caning or whatever. For me right here, I'm just going to do a Natasha and show you how you can do it on this simple form. And this is all the stuff that I've been using just to film this video. And I've added some more clay to it just because I didn't have enough here. And I just want to show you what you can do with your scraps that is really beautiful. Now I'm just chopping this up so that I get them into some smaller pieces and I can blend the colors a lot better. And this is one of my favorite pieces to make when I'm cleaning my table. Now don't leave your clay for 2 to 3 weeks and then decide to clean your table, because sometimes if you're in a cold spot, your clay will get too hard and it won't move properly to do this. So I like to do this, you know, after I've worked for a day or two and I can get the clay to still blend. It's still movable. Difficult. Now I'm just going to put this into a long tube and you want to get all the air out. So right now I've got a problem where I had a big air bubble in the middle there. And this is why I say you don't want your clay to be sitting too long, because if it's too hard, some of the clay won't move like you need it to with this technique. But you really have to get all of those bubbles out. Now the beauty of those pieces that she has, those lucite pieces, is they're pre-measured for the size of the bracelet. When you lay out canes and silk screens, you can see exactly where you're cutting for the top of your bracelet, which is so important. Now when I'm rolling this, I want to twist it. I want these colors on the inside to all mix together. Now it's better to have too much clay for this technique than not enough, because if you don't have enough, it looks terrible when you add on to it. And that's why I added some more clay. And look at the beautiful color blend I'm getting with these colors. Looks like I've spent hours, doesn't it? You just watched me, you know I didn't. I'm just going to use the bracelet as my actual guideline. And that's pretty close. That'll give me pretty much what I need. So you can just measure it around. Now one thing to do is always shape your Natashas into a cube. Piece at the end here isn't mixed enough. Sometimes if it's not mixed enough, you won't get that nice design going on. It's probably good on the inside. Interesting, and if you overmix it, it turns to mush. So trying to find the happy medium is when you see this outside mix that you think is pretty, but if you start to see it get too busy on the outside, stop. Now I never can repeat this. Whenever I have something that's a Natasha, people say, can't you make another one? No, it only happens once, and every time it happens differently. So is that every piece is unique. And you can make these any thickness you want. So if you don't have as much clay, you can go for a narrower bracelet, or you can just make a narrower bracelet on this form. You're not going to leave it on this form, so it doesn't really matter. Now, just before I cut this, I just want to make sure I've got a good length, and yes, I do. I'm right to the end there. And this is where square pairs really would help me, because now I'll have a nice and square cane, just using the table and the square pairs. I love this organizer. I actually would have thrown those just across the table and then lost them like everything else I do till I get cleaning day when I clean everything up. Now I'm just going to take my razor and cut right down the center here. Now if you don't like a big chunky bracelet, see there's my air pocket, that's my bad boy. Now I can just match that design up. But say you didn't want a really thick bracelet. which I like, but some people want just a thin one. You can take half of it, cut it in half. Now I can just match up these two sides, and sometimes I like to put it together the other way and see how it meets up. And here I have a much thinner piece. And so when you see this on, it's just like a small bangle bracelet. Just depends on what you like. So I'm going to make 2 bangles out of this just because I can. Just to show you the difference in whether you want to make a big one or a small one. Sometimes I prefer to wear 2 thinner bracelets than 1 thicker one. And there's several ways these can fit back together. You just have to play with them and look at them and see how things match up and how you want them to match up together. And when you put the mirror images together, you can start to see different designs and things. Now, even though I had the air pockets in here, it's not a big deal. It's just going to take a little bit more time for me to smooth this all out. And once again, my usual piece of paper. I love to work on a piece of paper just because it's easier to get everything to turn. And just play with this and spend some time smoothing it all out. Now, I like to use just a regular gift card, and I like to just wrap it in a piece of paper. Now here I have my bracelet already made and smoothed out, and look at how pretty this is. And this was just the scraps, and this was just half of those scraps, so I have enough to make 2 bracelets. Now I like to add a little clasp to the end. I have a separate video, flower cuff bracelet, and I show how I just add my loops to the end. I do that whether I put a clasp on it or not. I usually prefer not to have a clasp on my bracelet, but I like to have the option there in case somebody does feel comfortable with a clasp that I can put it on. But I just want to show you how beautiful this smooths out, and let me show you how I do it. Now this is the other one. See, I have all those air pockets and gaps, and you can see the seam in it. I want you to see that because I blend that all out. Notice this doesn't have any of that in it. Well, let's be honest now, this is just the other half of this. How I get that out is, this is one of my Clearview page protectors. You can get these in any office supply. I cut them up into quarters and I store my clay in them. You know, real easy, great way to store them. You can put them then in a file box or a drawer, whatever. Now I'm just taking this page protector and I am just burnishing this clay together. So I can get that nice bevel on the edge. I can spread this out and blend this all together. Now this will take me some time. I'm speeding this up for you, but the more you work on it section by section, you can get those air bubbles out. And what I love about this is how different these bracelets look from each other. Now this is just a gift card that I've wrapped in paper, and I can just straighten out this edge. And this will take time until I get something that looks smooth and perfect like this. And you can see, and now you can see when I show it sideways, how it's perfectly even all around. And when you look at it from the top, it's all nice and even. So you're gonna have to spend some time to get it to this point. And on the other side, look at what a beautiful piece you get. It's well worth it. Now I'll just bake this with this on here. I like to bury a little hook in the end of my bracelet. You don't need to use it. If you wanted to put a clasp in here, then you have that capability. If you leave this without a little hook in it, then you'll never have that capability. I usually don't put a clasp on mine. I like the way it looks just the way it is, but some people who have a smaller wrist would prefer a clasp. They just feel more secure with it, so I always do that. Now, it's a very simple thing to do. Here's the other bracelet that I made, and I made these little pieces. I show how to do this in my floral cuff bracelet video, so if you want to see exactly how I made those. And I just split right in between here, and I fit that in, and it's got, now it has a loop on each end so that it doesn't fall right out. And what I do is just split a little seam. You can put a little liquid clay in there if you feel more comfortable. This clay is so soft, I don't think I need it. And I just leave that little tiny bit hanging out. So now if I did want to add a clasp or a charm or something, I have some place to add it. And I go back in and I smooth this all out again and make sure that seam is all bonded. So you can't even tell where I added it. It just looks like it was part of the clay. It was just cut into that and blended together so it becomes one piece all over again. Now I will bake this according to manufacturer's directions. And now here's the bracelet all finished, and the nice thing is if you have a smaller wrist you can now add a clasp to it, or even a larger wrist, but for me I just slip it right on and it fits perfectly. Now here's the other one. To take this off you don't need any special tools or gadgets. I just take the inside bracelet and just curl it towards the inside and it just peels right off. Just slides right off like that. So not much to it, and you can reuse this over and over. Now some people do like to use this, I've seen this before, as a base, and they put a thin layer and then pop it off and then re-glue it back on with a little bit of crazy glue. So I think Teresa, I'm pretty sure Teresa sells these individually if you wanted to do that. Some people feel more confident with the metal underneath, and other people prefer to have it just the polymer clay. Either way works beautifully. I also use these for my beading and my bead embroidery as a base. I'll probably do a video on that soon. So Teresa's a good place you can get these from. And there you go, you have 2 bracelets instead of 1. Sometimes I prefer to have 2 rather than one big cuff. I just like the flexibility of it. Or I like to throw a beaded bracelet in between 2 bracelets like this so it looks like it was all meant to be together, yet they're all a little bit different. Now I promised to show you what I created with those earring bases that we made. I added a little bit of deep shine to this, and you can see how it really enhanced the cane in the earrings. And just that simple cane was created with just playing around. I wasn't even thinking. I just had a stressful day and wanted to de-stress squishing clay, which is always my favorite de-stress. And that's what the beauty of these cane benders is. It does a lot of that work for you without having to stress about it. Can you imagine what you could create if you were planning out a cane? I found that those cane benders are invaluable. Now I've also put on those 2 bracelets together with a cha-cha bracelet in between. This was just made with some lentil beads and crystals and seed beads. And you can see how you get a completely different look having the 2 bracelets together. I love this look because it gives you so much more versatility than if you had the one wide cuff. So next time you think about making one wide statement piece, think about having a collection of pieces that you can put together and how you can wear these all differently. It gives you just so much more versatility in your wardrobe. Now with the beads and blends, I created with that same cane just a larger bead, and then I put the little bead caps on top. I wanted to show you how they looked when they were finished, just to give you an idea. You didn't really need to see me make those beads over and over. I also created this tassel using the same template, just using it full size so that I got a bigger bead. It also depends on the thickness of your setting of your clay, how big your bead is. I wanted a bigger bead because I wanted to put this on a necklace, and I haven't finished the necklace. It was just time I had to finish the video, and I just put some polymer clay beads at the end just to bring it together. You know how sometimes you have those 1 or 2 sets of beads that are left over? Well, I put all of them in a jar of the same color, and that really gives me something to pick from when I'm doing a piece like this where I just need a few extra beads that just give a little complement to my main bead. And then my final piece, this is just a wrap bracelet made with some memory wire. This is what we created using the beads and blends one more time, and this is with just using part of a cane. So I want you to see that that dominant color still comes through and the cane color just comes as a little highlight, and how you can get still a beautiful look. And this piece I could even put in here. Just to give you an idea, you could switch that bracelet out also with the cuffs. So you don't have to wear one cuff bracelet at a time. you can make this beautiful statement. And this is more like 3 inches of cuff bracelet, which is what I love, because now it's a statement piece. And the beauty is, if I just want one delicate piece, I can break this up. Or many times my girlfriend says to me, I want that one. And I end up losing one, but it's okay because it's for a girlfriend, so I feel like she's got a little piece of me with her. So it's always nice to have a little collection that all matches, and when you make your Natashas, that gives you that beautiful collection. Now, I hope I gave you lots of ideas and inspiration and lots of things to think about. Maybe the Pandorganizer is one of the things you need in your studio. Who knows? You could be like me, stubborn, and say, I'm not getting it, and then realize, I damn well did need this thing. I will be at Indie Jam this fall with Teresa, so if you have any opens on your calendar, I will have all my COVID shots by then, so I'm real excited that I'll be able to travel again. And hopefully I get to meet you all, because I would love to see you and meet you and see what you create at Indie Jam. So mark your calendar for this fall, because I would be there and I'd love to meet you. But no, the snoring puppy doesn't like to travel. She hates people and she's afraid of the world. So it would just be me, and I hope I get to see you there, and thanks for watching. Have a great day. Go create now.